back, everybody, to another episode. My name is Emery Wolf. Joining me is
Nick Lamb.
And this is Just Two Camera Guys, a show where we're going to talk all things camera. We wrote down a pile of stuff to talk about. I think there's only really one thing, because we've really been talking all night before this. There's going to be some like just horrible segue that we're going to make, like just some hard cut from one topic to another. But let's do it, Nick. It'll be fun. Let's have a very short talk. We are limited to 5 minutes tops. I hope it's short, maybe 2 minutes, to talk about the Nikon Z9. You were looking up the specs earlier just before. What did you think of it?
Well, I thought Nikon was done. I didn't realize they were still doing anything. I kid. So I've got some friends. Actually, I do have some friends that are Nikon people, and they don't like being teased. Have you noticed that?
They really do not.
You'd think. And so this is where I come from. So I come from perspective. I used to think that Nikon was the best, because you didn't own a Nikon unless you were basically a professional. Is that an accurate statement, would you say?
No, but I'll talk about that after.
I felt like if you had a Nikon, you knew what you were doing. Like you didn't venture into the Nikon pool. And I remember seeing, so the stills guy on set had a Nikon. I bet he still does. Wouldn't be surprised. But his pictures were so sharp and so good, just stunning stuff. And I would just think, boy, Nikon's just the best. If I could ever afford a Nikon, it'd be unbelievable. But then getting into Canon, I don't know if there's a huge difference. So this is where my point is going with this. So when I was looking at the specs and looking at the images and looking at the videos, it looks great. It looks really, really good. Like, I don't know if I could, I don't think it matters. Like you could film on that and it would look stunning. You could take pictures on it. It would look stunning. You could tell me it was a Canon shot and I'd probably believe you. That I was impressed, I have to admit.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to say, and I think we probably agree on this, even though I disagreed with you at the start. But Nikon really.
Well, I was making fun of Nikon too much. I had to pull it back a little bit.
No, I meant more like on Nikon being a pro thing. To me, Nikon was the other brand. So there was Canon and Nikon, and they were the two big horses in the race. You either owned one or the other. There was a few other brands in the little side that, people would, round up. But I think what you touched on is probably the main point and probably the most important point. The brand matters less than people think or than people make out. Using this camera as an example, I think like it's obvious competitors. To me, what this camera seems like is like the Canon EOS R5 with, I'm going to say, some slightly better photography aspects to it. And maybe some better video stuff too, spec wise.
Well, they were, and I bet you, I feel like Nikon admitted this at one point, but they really overlooked how important video was to the stills camera. And they just kind of slowly added it on. Now it looks like they figured it out with this camera. It'd be nice to get my hands on some of the footage to actually put it into Premiere myself and kind of look at it. But
yeah, and they took some time to sort of figure it out. Like I said, to me it's a camera. I hate comparing it to something like the R3 because the R3 feels like a different beast of a camera. The R5 to me feels like a jack of all trades camera, or that's what it's meant to be. This Nikon Z9 also feels like a jack of all trades camera.
Do you have Nikon lenses though? I'm assuming that your old Nikon lenses will still work with the mirror. Oh no, don't tell me they did that too.
No, you'd have to get an adapter, I'm sure.
Okay, well, yeah, you get the adapter though. Yeah. But yeah, if you've got Nikon lenses lying around, this feels like a pretty nice way to go.
Yeah, it's a great way for Nikon to actually finally make a statement in the mirrorless category. Is it better than the other cameras, say the Sony A1, the A9, or the A7? Is it better than the R3 or the R5 or the R6? No, probably not. Like, no, it's not going to be magically better, magically anything. There's going to be some things that are going to be worse. There's going to be some things that are going to be better. Um,
The
but it's
24-bit audio kind of stood out to me. It's pretty surprised they even thought of that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to actually see how the autofocus works. Out of all the mirrorless systems so far, they've kind of had the worst autofocus, so hopefully that has stepped up. And that's the sort of thing that I think will push a lot of people into it. Or the Nikon users will get it anyways, right? Because it's Nikon, and
Yeah.
it's just nice to see them finally hit this mark and actually start doing something in mirrorless. And I hope we see a lot more of it from Nikon. I hope for Nikon's sake, we see a lot more of it.
Well, you know what? We should actually date once they start selling this. I don't know if they release it. Boy, it'd be fascinating to see how many units they sell compared to Canon and Sony.
Yeah, it'll be all that stuff will come out. Like if you follow, the Jared Polins or the Peter
Yeah.
McKinnons of the world, and we'll get all that delivered to us eventually in due time. It'll be interesting. Like I said, it's just nice to see Nikon back in the game, and your brand doesn't matter. They are all stellar cameras.
Yeah. And when they go bankrupt and you can't service it anymore, or they go back, yeah. Don't blame us. We warned you.
Yeah, that's the only thing to be worried about right now.
Can I shift gears here? So
Absolutely.
I'm thinking, getting back to the future direction of the show. I'm gonna spoil our upcoming NFT episode. Well, you'll probably leave something in the pre-thing, so that's something we're gonna do. But I also want to get into. I think we've kind of been sticking. I want to go a little deep into photography for a little bit. I wouldn't mind getting some photographers on and kind of getting some different types of photographers as well. So we've had a sports photographer, we've had a what do you call it, portrait photographer slash
lifestyle.
There's a ton, and I know a bunch personally, and I'm fascinated by it. But I think nature photography would be a great avenue to pursue.
I would go. I'm getting deeper into abstract.
Abstract photography. Why not?
I don't
even know what that is.
Just like the idea of like making messed up looking stuff that like almost doesn't make sense, but it's still beautiful.
So is it similar to like abstract painting kind of thing, or?
Yeah, however you want to do it.
Interesting.
I feel like I'm slowly moving more minimal, more abstract.
Okay. I don't really, I'd have to do a little bit of research on it because I don't even really know what you're talking about. But
like I would call that pretty abstract.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I would call that nature though as well.
It is nature, but I mean, it's basically like it's a sunset in black and white. It's not really of anything in particular. It's just lines.
Yeah. And that's a what have you got there? I'm just giving you a shameless plug.
The 2022 Black Ice Media calendar.
Nice.
Yeah.
How are sales going for it so far?
Not bad. There is, as we are speaking, 22 calendars left, and that's it.
Nice.
So that's okay. That's the first sort of sales chunk of it is always the one that goes fast, and it's the last bit that sort of takes a bit. So I imagine they'll still be selling stuff up until Christmas or trying to get rid of it. Although with that said too, there's been like a handful of people said they're going to buy some online and haven't said anything yet. I think the one thing too, actually, which is kind of getting people, is I did the actual calendar in black.
Ooh.
For black ice. And yeah, a lot of people, from the comments I've seen, it's gone over well.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
So you got to get like a white pen or something like that if you're.
Yes, I'm actually selling silver
Oh,
Sharpies
you're
with them
kidding
as
me.
well.
Nice.
It's an option if people want.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. My mom already bought one because there goes the old Christmas present idea I had.
That's what you get for allowing me and your mom to be friends.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, it seems how we're going on here, Nick, about stuff. Let's talk about the video landscape that's going on right now. We've had sort of a brief talk about this long video format, which we are currently
Mhm.
doing right now with this show, versus a short video format.
Well, it feels like they're both huge right now. Like long video seems huge and short video seems huge.
And there's like nothing in between.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So, have you ever, when you upload a video to YouTube and when you're monetized? Now, our channel's not monetized, but when hypothetically, let's pretend that it was monetized. Um, there's you can't put a middle commercial in. Oh, I'm gonna mess up the number now that I've said it, but it's like 8 or 10 minutes, so it has to be over that threshold of a certain length for you to add that extra, get that extra income off your video.
Mm-hmm.
But so they're encouraging you to do longer, but then you just can't fight the short form right now, though. Like it's just ignored at your own peril. It feels like.
Yeah, it all comes down to metrics, and this is actually like one of my pet peeves about some stuff. Like when you like, why do we even know this to begin with?
Well,
Like why do you know that after so many minutes that's when you can get an ad, and they want you to have a consistent viewership and all this other stuff, and like, why is that important?
well, this. Okay, this is hilarious. This is actually so. Um, when you upload a video to Facebook, you know how it's got those little ticks? It's like, okay, is this video HD? Check. Does it have a description? Check. Have you made your tags? Checked. And there's another one that says, is your video at least 3 minutes long? So for years, when we were making the Leroy and Leroy videos, it was like, is this video 3 minutes long? And you get that little check mark. So then I come back and be like, all right, guys, we got to make it 3 minutes long. And then we just have floundering for 2.5 minutes because our idea was 30 seconds long. And then finally we were just like, okay, we can't do the 3 minute form just because this video, we get a little check mark when we upload it. So we just started doing whatever we wanted and just ignoring it.
Yeah, it's I don't know it, and like, here's the irony of it, right? Is like, so they want you to be hitting those metrics so that people are on their platform longer, so that when they do their own metrics, they're like, well, look at how long our stuff is
Yeah.
engaging for. And then, but what they're struggling with is this like competition of where, if given the choice, if you can watch a 10-second video or a 3-minute long video, what are you going to choose?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer, right?
And now everybody, but you're right. Like, because TikTok has completely stolen the marketplace and everybody's, in my opinion, is um, reacting to gain a bit of that market share back.
Yeah, and so they're trying to gain those metrics back with the short, it seems, in order to push to long again so that they can start selling.
Yeah.
And
But
and
even,
do you feel like a pawn in that situation?
well, no, but have you ever gone? So it's weird because it's short and then it's long because everybody's doing live. So this show is basically a live, and I want to do it live. Like that's where I'd like to see us. Not even long term. I think short term, like within a few episodes, I'd like to start moving towards live. Um, just to get the questions coming up. But so if you go on TikTok, have you ever gone on TikTok? You probably
Not a
never
whole pile.
have you?
I don't have an account, but I mean, I've been on like TikTok. I've seen videos of it, right?
So I'd like to hear your opinion about what this is even trying to do. But so you'll scroll, scroll, and then I don't know what the number is. I don't know if it's a set number, but I feel like if you scroll 10 videos, somebody will be live. And then you can go into their live and comment or whatever, or you could request to join it. But so you're watching 10 pre-recorded videos, and then it feels like there's a live everyone. And then when you go into the live, you can start scrolling lives. So you're like live. And then you have to click back to get to the short form stuff. So it feels like they're really, I don't know what the point of it is, but there is a definite point to the long form live and short form short.
That's interesting. I actually think it's probably like from the platform's perspective, it's probably a two-part scenario for them. So if people are engaging online, typing to someone, that's more engagement from them. They're also stealing that time, which means it's more time on that platform. Plus a live video versus an uploaded one means that users spending more time. So it's all about that time and having, two sides of it on there. And again, they're just bolstering their own metrics and, saying, hey, look how great we are. From a user's perspective, honestly, like I cannot possibly think of how I myself could create that much live content that would be of value to anyone.
oh no, have you quickly realize there's not always a ton of value because it's on a live, it tends to be this. Oh yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, so they're just wondering what color my hair is. Yeah, it's blonde. And then it's
and
like
a little bit gray.
Yeah. And then there's another one. It's like oh yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But where do we film our videos? Oh, we film them in whatever city we're in.
Like give it time though too. I think like that stuff will come along and get better. Yeah.
But then there's a lot of this too. But the questions are coming in so fast, I can't even read them. Yeah, I just can't. Sorry, guys. Just give me a second here. I'll try to answer all the questions I can. It's just it's that.
That's actually kind of one of the aspects of that I actually think would be really neat. Like the thought of someone watching me just answer questions, the thought of someone just asking me questions is, it's pretty like flattering, like that you would trust in me enough to answer that question.
I see what you're saying.
I could see like that being like personally, quite gratifying. Like, and
yeah. Oh, hold on.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I like the idea of interacting with people like that. I just don't know, given our show, it is probably really impractical. Seems how we just don't have enough people to actually foster something like that. But with that said, Nick, I think this is actually a good segue into our next guest on our show today, because our next guest actually does have the following to foster those sort of questions and those sort of problems. He's a man who needs no introduction. He's Saskatchewan's Madonna. He only goes by one name. Ladies and gentlemen, Leroy.
What's happening?
I don't understand why it's sideways. That's the most confusing thing.
How come you came in vertical?
I just thought that I should turn my phone sideways, but apparently you guys are sideways on my screen. So like, I don't know who's in the wrong. If it's you guys who are sideways or if I'm sideways.
Could be any of us. You're right. Could be you. Okay. Could be us.
Who's to say who's in the wrong, really?
It could be either. Either are.
No one can really know for sure.
Oh, welcome. This is
Thanks.
I would say, with all due respect to our other guests, our guest with the largest social media presence.
Oh, that's you guys need to shoot higher.
Yeah.
But like stepping stones. I get it.
Yeah, not a bad stepping stone though. Like, I mean, I was actually looking at like all the stats here. I have it up in front of me. There's 7,000 followers on Facebook, 3.45 on YouTube. You're killing it on Twitter with 358. And then TikTok and Instagram are really your big ones. And I think between both those, you guys got, is it over? How much is it now, Leroy?
We're at about 360,000 on TikTok and 215 on Instagram, I think.
Yeah.
I can't math to add that up, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's okay. It's doing okay. What does it feel being, a Saskatchewan boy and having like, that's a third of our population?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think though, being a Saskatchewan boy, I don't think about it a whole lot. Someone recently, when we did our trip to Toronto, we had a guy out there, good old Waddell Engineering, who reached out to a hotel for us and was like, hey, message this hotel and you might have a place to stay. And sure enough, we got hooked up with a place at the Marriott. And he's like, you have a lot of followers. You should just drop into people's DMs and you'll be surprised what happens. But I feel like it's that small town mentality that it's like, we don't really think about it. But maybe sometimes we do need to think about it.
Yeah. Do you ever think about like how big it does all seem, but in the reality on Earth, it's very small. Like when you consider there's 8 million people in New York City alone.
Oh yeah, it's minuscule, really, compared to some other Canadian TikTok creators. We're a pretty tiny fish in the pond.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nothing to shake a stick at. That's for sure.
Oh no, it's our goal. Our goal is to get to 10,000 followers by the end of this year. So we're doing okay.
Yeah, you got to set goals, and as long as you're meeting them, that's all that counts.
Yeah, we stopped setting them after that. So let's pick some new ones.
I was gonna say, any idea what the new goals might be?
Just to keep doing what we're doing, I think. I mean, the dream is to have this be our job. So we'll see where it goes. We'll just keep building on what we're doing.
Would Leroy behind the camera agree with that?
Oh yeah. I mean,
what's
so.
that?
He doesn't do much anyways.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. Awesome. But what's it like working with that guy?
Leroy behind the camera, he's an interesting duck. He really likes to talk about his finances a lot. He listens to financial podcasts all day, which it's a really riveting lifestyle he lives. But we've known each other for I don't even know, 20, 25 years, probably 25, 30 years. So we go way back. We had a radio show together when we were in high school at a college that neither of us attended. So, we've been making miracles happen since high school.
What was the radio show way back then?
It was, we'll call it the Leroy and Leroy show because it wasn't.
But, very original name.
But they just let us on this college radio station for 2 hours a week, and they're just like, write down the music you play here, and when you leave, turn the lights off. So we came up with creative contests like having people call in to win a 2-liter of PC Cola and stuff like that.
So the creative brain behind that show and eventually Leroy and Leroy, is it Leroy or is it Leroy behind the camera?
I would say it's a 50-50 split between the two of us. We'll be driving around and Leroy behind the camera will spot something and then a lot of times we'll just go improv about what he spotted out there. So it's a good partnership. We're a good balance between the two of us, I think, because like I mentioned him, his financial podcast, he's responsible. I'm not. So, it balances out to a good normal person.
Right. I can't remember where I heard this. I think it might have been on the podcast as well. But you talk about him being responsible, but then at the same time, it sounds like he drives you around in a death trap of a truck.
Yeah, no, we take my car on road trips now. Just for our own health and safety and the betterment of society. We just leave his truck at home.
Perfect. Nick, do you know, I know you wanted to get into some of the process stuff. Do you maybe want to?
Yeah. Basically, this is a camera show. So,
Okay.
Like what's your process from, basically take us through start to finish almost, like when you show up on set, what does the behind the scenes look like for one of your shoots?
Well, there's not really a set per se, because we just get in my car and drive places. So I drive, and Leroy behind the camera generally just naps while I'm driving around. And then when we find something, I don't know, he gets his like fancy ding dong camera out there. It's a Canon something. And he plays with the lenses to make it look like he's really busy and stuff. And then we record, and then like a couple days later, I have the videos to put on TikTok. So, that pretty much sums up the process.
You have a huge part in the editing, I take it, by the way you described that.
Okay, so Leroy behind the camera is always talking about how he has to color the videos. So one day I was like, I'm going to help out with this. And I showed up at his house with a box of pencil crayons, and he wouldn't let me help. So I don't know. Like I said, I could color the videos, but he didn't want me to.
Just thinking about that. Just thinking about that process as well. For this show, I do like a lot of our social media for it as well. And
by a lot, you mean all?
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, it really feels like I'm doing the bulk of the work most of the time. Do you feel the same way, Leroy? Is Leroy behind the camera dropping the ball on you a little bit there?
Well, listening to this, like I feel like your partner Nick and Leroy behind the camera are a lot alike, really. It sounds like the same person in a way to me. But I think like when it comes to social media, yeah, I do the vast majority of that, with the exception of YouTube, because he won't even tell me the password for our YouTube. So,
anything else about that process, Nick, that you're curious about?
Yeah, well, so when you go out to record a video, do you have a philosophy about the amount of takes that you'd like to do?
Yeah, I much prefer 2 takes. And that happened after it's become world famous now. We call it the Vegreville Incident. So Leroy behind the camera and I were in Vegreville, where you may or may not know they have the world's largest like Ukrainian Easter egg. So we did a video about the Easter egg, and we're like, that was really good. Let's go. No need to do a second take. And then like 4 days later, when we were back in Moose Jaw, Leroy behind the camera is like, yeah, so remember that egg video? All I have is a shot of us saying that was really good, and then the camera is shooting my feet. So, we always try and make sure to do 2 takes now.
That's classic. What about Leroy behind the camera? Is he pushy? Is he constantly trying to get you to do things that, maybe that are good ideas and maybe some that are bad?
Yeah, like I don't want to say all of his ideas are bad, but like it's a good partnership. Well, just to save face, we'll say that. No, I think it's all pretty good for the most part.
How do you know you have a good take when you do it?
Sometimes it depends on the day. Sometimes it's if Leroy behind the camera is laughing. It's a good indication that it's going to be a good one, except for at the end of the day, because he's kind of like he's so skinny that he's kind of got like I think the metabolism of like a 7-year-old child, so he gets tired out really early. So if it's late in the day and he's tired, he just won't laugh, and then he'll just be like straight faced and say, oh yeah, no, that was good. And I'm like, well, I can't tell. And So yeah, if it's late in the day, it's a little different, but we just gotta get him to eat some food more often.
Yeah, well, it must get expensive on the road because you're always having to eat at restaurants and going all the road food. That must get to you after a while, I would imagine.
Yeah, no. Leroy behind the camera and I are the cheapest guys on earth. So generally, we went to Toronto, our first stop in the grand city of Toronto. We're like, we gotta experience the food. So we stopped at Sobeys. We each loaded up some shopping carts. I got a loaf of bread and some ham and some mayo. Leroy behind the camera bought all of their bubbly they had in the whole store. Again, I don't know. I think he just drinks that soda water. But yeah, we just load up with groceries. I think we maybe ordered skip the dishes twice, but aside from that, we're that's the one time we're both pretty cheap.
I was just gonna say, how long a days are you guys putting in too when you do this?
If we're on a road trip, 12, 13 hours a day, probably. We get up at about 6 a.m. and we'll get back to the hotel, probably 7:30. And then we go our separate ways and crash.
And I realize I'm saying guys right now, assuming I know there was a whole controversy as to whether Leroy behind the camera was your wife or not.
Yeah, no, Leroy behind the camera, definitely not my wife. He just has a high-pitched giggle. It sounds a lot like if you compared Nick's laugh to Leroy behind the camera's laugh, it's like similar to that.
Well, I thought I did hear on the podcast that you actually edit the podcast. So,
yeah.
So do you edit the audio to the video?
No. That just does itself. That just takes care of itself. And really, audio editing is like much more complicated than the video editing. So, like anyone can do video editing, but the audio editing, that's where the really complicated processes come in.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of parts in the podcast that it'll say, we'll take that out later, but it's on the actual podcast.
Oh, did you listen to today's podcast? I mean, it just depends on what your definition of like good editing is.
Leroy behind the camera doesn't say a whole pile with Leroy and Leroy. What is when it comes to the audio for your podcast there and you're cutting it up, does he actually talk much and do you have to do a lot of editing to correct him? Because I'm assuming he's just not used to talking.
Yeah, no, it's hard to get 2 words out of him. So I just kind of run with it, and then we just see what comes out in the end. Like I think what he does is just puts a stick from his camera into his computer, and then it just automatically emails everything to me.
It's just a giant macro.
Yeah, fires everything over. It's just like an auto does it. Cuts them all up and sends them to me. It's a pretty cool program. Should copyright it.
Also, just talking about Leroy behind the camera and that he doesn't talk much. You mentioned his financial stuff. What other quirks does that guy have?
Oh my goodness. Like I gotta think of things now. This is like putting me on the spot. It's funny.
There was a time I can remember. I think I read a vlog or a blog or something about it. But when you guys are in Niagara Falls, you guys got into a little bit of an argument at one time, I think. Maybe what was that about?
This comes back to the finances we talked about earlier. We got down to right by Niagara Falls. Got prime parking right downtown, and we were just ready to film. And Leroy behind the camera realized that it was probably going to cost us like $20 or $30 to park down there. And so he got his phone out and he was looking at an app. And he's like, "Oh, there's going to be cheaper parking." And I said, "Yeah, but we're here. Like, let's just go film." And he's like, No. If we all we have to do is drive up the hill and then over this way, and then we can park down there, and it'll be like a 20-minute walk back. And then we'll be able to save like $10 or $20 on parking. And I'm like, but time is money. And then he looked at me and said, "I know, I heard you say that already." And then kept scrolling through his phone. And then after about 15 minutes of scrolling, we just left the car parked where it was and went and filmed. And yes, it cost us $20, but I told him to take it off my check.
So I'm kind of straying from the pot here. Totally random question. But if you weren't Leroy and this big internet sensation, what would you be doing for work?
Oh, inspired by our old friend, the other Leroy, I'd probably go work at the lighthouse with him. He just got a new job there. He's warns boats and stuff. Like, I don't know how important the lighthouse is at Buffalo Pound, and I feel like he's just in his shed with the flashlight. But two flashlights are better than one, so I'd probably just go help him out at the lighthouse.
That's interesting. I didn't even know we had two lighthouses here. I thought we only had the one.
Well, anything's a lighthouse if you've got a big enough flashlight.
What do you think Leroy behind the camera would do for work if he wasn't a big internet sensation?
Oh, I think that he would probably still just continue to do video and then become some sort of a financial advisor, and then make podcasts about finances and being a camera guy. I feel like that's what his life would consist of.
Oh, we might have to get that guy on the show then sometime, eh?
That sounds good.
I mean, he could be tough to reach, but you can try.
I heard a rumor too, when you were growing up, you actually wanted to be an archaeologist. You talked about doing a radio show before, so I'm not sure where this archaeologist thing came from.
That was my childhood goal. I was going to be a paleontologist and dig up dinosaur bones. And then, like grade 7 rolled around and I changed my mind and just decided I wanted a career where I could work, but not really have to work. So it took a while, but I'm getting there.
I think that's everyone's dream, to work, but not really work.
Yeah, for the most part. Except for Leroy behind the camera. I feel like he likes working. Like when I moved into my house a long time ago, we had a bunch of friends over, and one of my friends was like, I'll come help as long as you get Leroy behind the camera to come. And then I found out why. Because we were like, a couple hours in, and we're like, okay, everyone stop for a drink. And everyone was standing around having an ice cold beverage. And Leroy behind the camera was still painting the walls and putting potty up. So yeah, if you ever need house renos done, that's the first guy to call.
Interesting. Maybe it's the type of work. I always got this notion that Leroy behind the camera would be like the guy, when you're actually wrapping up a shoot and you have to clean up all the gear and all the cables and stuff, he'd be the first guy out of the building and just leave all that with you.
just be gone.
Well, so because Emery and I work on live shows together.
Okay.
And so we were on a show once, and the show wrapped, and we were congratulating ourselves on what a great job we did as camera operators. And then they were like, all right, you guys got to pack up the cameras. And we were like, no problem. We packed all the cameras up. And they're like, oh, yeah, you guys got to clean up all the cables, too. And so we started wrapping up the cables. And this guy comes over and yells at Emery because he was wrapping it up wrong. And then Emery was like, well, how many ways are there to wrap up a cable? And so then he's trying again. And the guy yells at him again. And I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, my goodness, Emery, learn how to roll up a cable. And then 5 minutes later, the same guy comes and yells at me because I'm rolling up a cable wrong. And I'm like, I've been rolling up cables for ever. What's going on here? And I'm trying to learn his technique or whatever. And then I think I've got it down. He yells at me again. And me and Emery look at each other and we're like, let's just go. So we just left.
Yeah, I think I would have just left after the first, you're rolling the cable up wrong. I think I would have said, oh, I guess I don't know how to do it then. Bye.
So another thing I just want to touch on and sort of see where Leroy stands. And I think there's an obvious answer to this question, so I kind of want to avoid that. But you're obviously a Moose Jaw Warriors fan. You're wearing their their jersey in almost every video. Is it every or almost every?
Almost every. There's a little bit of variation.
Yeah. So if you had another team that you're gonna rep, who would it be? And it can't be the Riders. I'm just gonna put that in because I feel like that's pretty typical out here.
WHL? Is that what you're saying?
Anything, any stick, NHL, NFL, whatever you want. Just another team that you would rep. Who would it be?
Tom Brady. Like it doesn't matter what team he's on, but just a jersey with Brady on is generally like a good winning solution to go with. So I'll say Tom Brady.
I did hear, like I went way back, and you had the Montreal Canadiens jersey on.
Yeah, it's a true story. Lifelong.
But then you stopped wearing it.
Yeah, because of this. As I was scrolling through TikTok, I found that anytime someone with a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey popped on my screen, I would instantly scroll past them. And then I realized, oh, you know what? I don't want a Toronto Maple Leafs fan to scroll past Leroy and Leroy because I'm wearing a Habs jersey. So that's when I switched. I went to Team Canada for a little while and then just settled in on the Moose Jaw jersey. So
if you could collaborate with maybe another famous person, sports team, or whatever, who do you think you'd collaborate with? Who would Leroy and Leroy collaborate with?
Oh my goodness. Like, that's such a broad question. Because I feel like there's a million answers to that. Like, if I was going with like another TikToker, I'm going to go Canadian and say Selena Spooky Boo. And then if I was going to go with like a celebrity, I'd go with someone like Ryan Reynolds, maybe, or Will Ferrell. And then if I was going with like a sports team, I feel like it'd be fun to go do something with like the Raptors. Go off the charts. Like, and I'm not even a basketball fan. Minus the 1 year the Raptors won everything. That's the only time in my life I've watched it. I know we're talking sort of like the future of Leroy and Leroy here a bit. You guys have answered quite a bit on the podcast of it, but what is now in the near future? You just put out the podcast today. So it's not like we're spoiling that for anybody. No, latest podcast is out. We are talking about hopefully going to the Rocky Mountains. Want to hit up Banff, and I mean, ultimately we want to go everywhere in Canada. Like our next big cities, we'd like to hit up are Vancouver and Ottawa and Montreal. But in our very cheap nature, we're not willing to pay $1,000 for our flights. So until the flight prices go down, we'll stick to driving. So yeah, Banff will probably be our next destination, and we'll hit up a grocery store in Calgary on our way, so we don't have to pay the Banff food prices. And we'll pack a cooler, and we'll be good to go. Oh, nice. What about other stuff with it? Like, are you going to try and grow different social medias more? Are you going to sell more products, or is new products coming? What are they type things? Yeah, there will be new products coming at some point. Oh, still there? I don't know what happened. It just flipped on my screen. Oh.
I wonder who Leroy is.
Okay, so
very difficult.
I don't remember what the question was, but my kid is trying to call me on the other line.
Yeah, you know what? I think
I better go say goodnight to him. And then, but the answer definitely. So the answer to your last question is 7. I'm pretty sure 7. And then if I had to go like elaborate on it, I would probably say pink. So those would be my final answers. So yeah,
cool.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks a lot for doing this, Leroy.
Have a good one, guys.
You too.
We'll see ya.
That was fun.
So funny. He's so funny. Yeah, he does morning radio, so he's got to be up early.
Yeah.
And his wife's out of town. She's American. So she's back home for a bit. So his son is spending the evenings with his parents at the moment, because otherwise you'd have to wake your kid up at 4 a.m.
Crazy. Actually, do you know what's even funnier to me is that his wife's American, and he's such a.
Mm-hmm.
Has he always been like this? So like pro Canadian?
Well, he's it's yeah, that's interesting. I never even thought of that. But yeah, it's really funny now that you mention it. He's uh open yeah, um hmm, I don't know. That's a great question. I feel like I just can't answer it for him, because it doesn't feel like I my space to do that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to put any of this in. I'm just asking for my own curiosity. But I also think this radio show thing is funny. So how old were you guys when you were doing that?
So we started the show. We would have been. So he is a great. We're like only a month apart, but because he's a December baby, I'm January.
Mhm.
So he was a grade ahead of me. So I think he would have been in grade 11 or 12, and I either would have been in maybe 10 or 11 because we were driving out there. So it was either 10 or 11 or 11 or 12. And so it was out at Caronport, and they've got this little transmitter that reaches like Moose Jaw. It's not, I think it's technically not supposed to reach Moose Jaw because of their license, but it used to reach Moose Jaw. And yeah, we'd go out there every week, and you'd have to bring a big thing of CDs, and you just we did like, because they had a thing where you could call in, so we were always trying to get people to call in, just chat. And we wanted to give away prizes, but yeah, we didn't have any money to buy anything, so we would buy like a 2-liter thing of Coke, but we couldn't even get Coke, so we were getting like RC Cola or something like that. We were giving away RC Colas, and they did a vote that year. It was funny because I don't know, we just used to, it was total nonsense, but they did a vote, and we still talk about it to this day. It was voted the #1 radio show in the college.
So here's what I find funny about this and why I'm interested in it.
There's a picture.
And how old were you guys again? So college, like 19?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been too. We were in high school still.
Okay.
So we weren't in college, but we were doing it on the college station because I don't know, because we could. Yeah, no, it was fast. I'll send you a picture because I posted it. I don't know if you saw it on my Facebook recently, but it's us.
Oh yeah. And that's
when
you
we
in the
were
Detroit Red Wings jersey.
Yeah, 1997. So yeah, I would have been like grade 10. He would have been grade 11.
Was the Yzerman your boy or what?
Yeah, he was. Look at those computers.
I know, eh? Everything about it's just so dated. It's awesome.
Yeah, I remember we'd drive out there, and there'd usually be a couple friends with us, and they'd like wait out in the hallway till the show was done.
Yeah. So,
and the phone there, yeah, people would phone in, and we'd be able to pan them up on the thing.
Yeah. So back then, would you have considered yourself a punk?
A punk? No. I was into sports big time.
Well, yeah, but you kind of got that mushroom cut hair, nice baggy acid wash jeans. Looks a little.
No,
punkish.
That's just all I had. No, it just
the 90s style, right?
Yeah, I didn't like changing my hairstyle very much, and I was very well, still slightly am hillbilly, like on the farm kind of thing. So I just wear whatever's in the closet and didn't really think much about it.
So this is what I think is funny about all of this. So I'm gonna start at this. That haircut.
Yeah.
I had the same haircut.
Yeah. Similar haircut as today. I've just figured out how to style it better.
Okay. It wasn't like an actual, like an undercut or like a
no, it was
thing.
Yeah, no, it was the bowl undercut thing.
Okay,
it was bad. It was not great.
Yeah,
but exactly the thing is it's coming back around. It would be in style now.
Do you know? I still think it's a good haircut. If I if I could still grow hair, Nick, I might even do it today.
It would be a great throwback haircut. But yeah, it was I just hadn't figured out, so I hadn't quite figured out how I was stuck on gel, right? I hadn't figured out the body hair product yet. So I was stuck on gel, and gel is like a flattening thing. So it was all about flattening rather than volumizing. But just with the way my hair works, it needs a little bit of volume because it's kind of thin.
Yeah.
So
those baggy ass pants you're wearing, the same thing.
Well, yeah. So, they weren't really baggy. So,
You're
I
just
got
scrawny.
I was into big time into boot cut for a long time because I thought boot cut was cool. And then I got into tapered. And then I remember, so this is what happened. So I remember it was 1999 and this girl was really making fun of me for wearing tapered jeans. And so that was the year that I flipped. I was like, all right, never again am I wearing tapered. But so I was too late for the belt, but for the flare, because that was about 99 was maybe the last year of the flare jeans. So then I went big on the flare after it was out of style. And then I feel like I'm always just a step behind all of the major fashion trends. By step, I mean a couple of years behind.
So was it like a wide flare, like it almost looked like you were wearing a skirt?
No. I didn't have the guts to do that. It just would have been.
Yeah. So I did baggy pants. Mine were always like a straight leg baggy, right? So like baggy from the top all the way down, but still like straight down. So they weren't like super baggy, but they were baggy. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I had a pair of jeans in high school that were like a 38-inch waist, and I was like a 32-inch waist, right? Or a 30 or something, right? Like, so, just belting them up, but they were the right sort of baggy. I think in my mind too, like when I got them, I'm like, these are going to last me forever, man.
So, okay, now here's the question. So you were big in the bag. Now, what year did you get your first skinny jean?
I cannot fit a skinny jean.
You've never gone skinny jean?
No.
Not even very straight? So are you still boot cut or what are you wearing now?
Yeah, mostly boot cut now.
You're still on the boot cut. Okay.
So I can't, this is horrible, but I have big calf muscles, Nick, and I can't get skinny jeans on because they just get hung up in my leg muscles. And my whole legs, like skating so much my entire life, for the size of me, I've got like thick legs, right? Scrawny arms, but thick legs from skating.
Interesting. Okay. But
yeah, literally cannot get a skinny jean on.
Wow. And then hat. So have you always wore hats?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the hat's a good move. Like guys are kind of lucky that way. They can just chuck on hats.
Yeah. And it worked out really well when I got bald. So now one more thing, one step further. When I was like, I'm going to say 12, somewhere around there. I was actually probably even earlier than that. Me and a couple of buddies, I know Tyler was one for sure. And I feel like Scott was involved in this too, but we used to record our own radio shows.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, like, so we'd have like, a little ghetto blaster thing. You remember back then, the 2-button record thing. And like, that's how we would do it. So basically like mixtapes were fun to make, right? But then we took it a step further and started doing like radio intros to all the mixtape stuff. And we'd make like this whole little radio show for the mixtape and still DJ music.
No way. So you'd put the music in. Did you do it all live or would you stop and then resync it up, hit at the sync?
Yeah.
After
kind of like that, right? Like, so we would do our bit, hit the record. Welcome back to the radio show, folks. This is DJ blah, 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 right? And do our thing. Our next song coming at you is from Metallica. And then, hit stop, be like, okay, that's good. That one was good. Put in the Metallica tape, play, record at the same time, listen to the song, stop, and then go back and do the next like intro thing.
That's awesome.
We never ever took it as far. I mean, obviously in a small town, you don't sort of have the opportunity you probably had. But yeah, I think had we had that opportunity, we definitely would have been doing like a real radio show.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. So we were gutted when they took it off. Oh, sorry, I'm just making more editing for you, aren't I? I don't care. But yeah, so we could only do it 1 year, and then you had to be a student in the college, and we were still high school kids, so they were like, we liked having you. You had good stuff, but sorry, you can't do it.
No, I just think it's funny, like how our lifestyles were so damn similar
Yeah.
growing up. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, they must have had a small radio station though, where you were growing up somewhere.
The closest thing we would have had, there was an old CBC station. It was pretty much defunct when I was old enough to know anything about it, but out at Watrous, right? And that was like nothing that kids would ever get on. But yeah, nothing even remotely
There was nothing,
close. It
You know
was
what you
only
would have
like
had to
professional
do?
stuff, right?
You would have had to do CB radio show.
Yeah. I don't know. We did our thing. Like the other thing too, it's almost like we were just trying to find ways to entertain ourselves or something. Because the first video I did, and man, I should actually talk to my buddy Tyler about this and track it down. But we did this. I believe it was the Canterbury Tales. Gonna Google that real quick.
So on a side note with that, so the idea of entertaining yourself with media. So my cousin was down, and his wife and their kids and stuff, right? The one kid's quite a bit older, like college age, right? And so she'd made this Halloween video, and they were like, "Oh, show Nick the video." And I watched the video, and it was really good. It like was this little, it was like a little TikTok, right? But it was about 30 seconds long, and it had been edited, and it had this voiceover and words, and it was really good. I was like, "Oh, awesome! What's your TikTok for this?" And she was just like, "Oh no, it's just on my phone." And I was like, "What? You're putting in all that effort to just have it on your phone reel to like randomly pass it around to people?" And she's like, "Yeah." So yeah, I guess it's a thing,
Good for them. That's actually admirable.
Oh yeah. No, and it was great. It was really good too. It was the thing.
Yeah. I don't even know where we got the camcorder from, but we did this sketch of Boo Radley from the Canterbury Tales. Sort of like, so the Canterbury Tales is like all these different short stories about these characters from this made up town.
Mm-hmm.
And this one character kept popping up in all these other stories. And so we made this like life and times of him. And he was also interesting as well, because he like was basically accused of like murdering people at some point in time, right? So anyways, we did this whole video of it, and like, so the book is by Chaucer, and I'm sure like if he's seen our video, he would have been like, "This is the craziest crap I've ever seen." Because like we would record these scenes, and then I don't even know how we did it. I think we had a VCR hooked up to the camcorder, and you could record it through that way.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then so we would do like, there was one scene where there's this gas well that blows up. And so like we input like all these different explosions, from like Independence Day and stuff. And then I think we even put in that hit of like Trevor Linden of putting that one guy through the glass, like at hockey and stuff, just because it was funny, right? And but yeah, like it was just so.
How'd you get around the recording? Because I thought I have a memory of you couldn't. This maybe was pre that, but at a certain point it would be copy. You couldn't. You had to change the VHS tape somehow to allow you to record or something like that. Am I making this up? Maybe it was just DVDs that did that.
No. So like if you were going from like tape to tape or something, or if you were recording a program, there's like a little switch thing for that allow to record. But because like I said, I'm pretty sure we basically just had like a video output. So instead of going to a TV from the VCR, we went into the camcorder and recorded it.
And it would let you bypass whatever the
right, because the VCR doesn't know. It's just playing the video. It thinks it's going to a TV.
Yeah.
Like an ingenuity too, like that we figured that out, right? Like
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So we always sort of did these things to sort of like entertain ourselves and whatever. And it's funny too, like how it progressed. It really started with radio, and then eventually it sort of became this video thing.
I imagine there's a lot of video / camera people that started out that way. Like that seems like a pretty natural progression. Start with audio. Same with photography, right? You know how you start with photography and then kind of take the next level to start to do, well, not next level. It's undermining photographers, like depending on how far you want to take photography.
Yeah. Or,
Maybe move
well,
into video.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if I actually agree with that or if I'm just like an anomaly, because I went the other way, right? Like
You didn't start with photos though?
No.
Like as a kid?
Oh, that's true too. Yeah. Because I had that. What was your first camera you ever owned?
Well, it depends. So my first memory of using a camera was like beyond little kid. The first memory that I have where I was allowed to just fire away and I could choose the amount of photos and stuff like that, that it wasn't just like, oh, you get to take the family picture or the picture at Christmas, was I would have been in grade 5 or 6 and it was a family vacation. And my mom was like, you can, because I always wanted to take the pictures. So my mom was like, you can take the pictures this trip and you can take, I don't know, it was like, you've got 4 rolls of film or something like that, which at the time that was like, oh my goodness, I can take 100 photos. Are you kidding me? Like, this is the best ever. And I was just loving it. So I was like firing off photos. And then of course, mom had to remind me, like, you know, the trip's 7 days long and you've already taken half of the photos and we just haven't even left Moose Jaw yet. So let's maybe just slow down a little bit with the photo taking. But yeah, it was, so my first actual camera though was a Pentax. I didn't quite understand what DSLR was, so I kind of felt like I was getting into DSLR because there was a lot of buttons, but it was just a single lens attached that I could kind of focus a little bit, but it didn't really focus. But yeah, it's Pentax film, obviously.
That's crazy. I know the first camera that I physically had. I don't know if you remember this, but McDonald's made that like super slim camera thing.
No way.
Yeah,
that thing would be worth a fortune now if you still had it.
I'm pretty sure it probably got tossed.
Yeah. Could you put film into it, or was this just one of those one-offs?
No, it took like special rolls of film. I remember it was different film than everything else because it was just like this slim, you know, typical 80s like thing where you look through.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So how many pictures, like where were you buying the film for that thing?
You know, just at the, whatever
I was
going to say grocery store, but it was like the drugstore in town, right?
So was that the do you have any of the pictures from that?
Probably not. Actually, do you know what? I shouldn't say that. Mom might.
That would be cool to see the difference in those pictures. Because do you remember those disposable cameras? Do you remember when they came out with those?
Yeah.
And you'd get, 24 or 36 pictures in the disposable camera.
Yeah.
Have you looked back on any of those pictures in like the last 5 years or something like that?
No. So here's the funny part, Nick, is like our family we never really used those or had those.
Oh, you never had them. Okay.
Mom had like a couple of them, but mom always had like a point and shoot camera thing that she would use. Yeah.
So my grandpa got me into those disposable cameras because I had my camera, but you get influenced when you're little. He was convinced that they were the greatest camera of all time, because I think it was because his eyes were going a bit and he couldn't focus with the other cameras. And so there's the pictures.
They were easy, right?
Yeah, they'd always come out in focus and exposed decently. And the pictures are surprisingly good. Like looking back on those. So it's fascinating, I find, when you look back. So like when you look back at a picture from the 1930s, it's like good and sharp, 40s good and sharp, 50s good and sharp, 60s good and sharp, 70s everything seemed to go to crap, and then it got progressively worse, the photos in the 80s, and then they got good again
I'm
at a
I'm
certain
gonna
point.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I think the 70s were still actually like pretty
Maybe
good.
they were still good in the
I
70s.
I
You're
feel
right.
like what started happening in the 70s was, I could be totally wrong. I could be making this up, but I feel like what happened was the 70s was like where things started moving up. And so photography's popularity became more accessible, more people were doing it. So then you just see more like bad photography from it.
Okay, that could be it. But then the quality of cameras is funny because it got really good at a certain point. But then when the digital cameras came out and we switched to those at the start, it was turned to crap again and it went really down, I noticed. And then, but now it's totally different world.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. So I'm going to go back to the 70s. So take for an example the film camera I have, that Pentax. That technically I think is an 80s camera, but those are the type of cameras that were coming from the 70s, 80s. And honestly, like that thing, if you put the right film in it, it's going to look good. And actually, like even some of the photos I had were like pretty tack sharp.
Yeah.
And I haven't done like my other films. So some newer films that are going to have like a tighter grain, and instead of the black and white cheap film that I use, that's going to be obviously a little more lossy, right?
Yeah.
So I suspect those photos are going to look some pretty sharp stuff. Now the switch from film, and again too, I want to make a point here that your quality was also within that film. Like I think the cameras were good, the lenses were good, but the film also makes a drastic outcome on that. So you're using cheap film, it was going to look cheaper.
I never even thought of that, because you know that's hilarious, because what type of film didn't even play into it. I would just buy whatever the store had. It wasn't like I was a Kodak guy or a Fuji guy or a no-name guy. I was just like, oh, the store's got this in stock. All right, that's what it is.
Yeah, right. Like, so it's no different than today, right? Like, so your sensor or your film is making like a lot of that difference for you. So going back to digital and losing stuff, I don't think we lost anything. It's really hard. It's hard comparing things today too. Like, so when you look at, say, even my camera, which is a 30 megapixel camera, versus the first digital camera I owned in like 2001, I think it was, I bought it. And it was, kind of manual control point and shoot thing. But that thing was like a 2 megapixel camera. Like, so when you look at a 2 megapixel image versus 30, it's like, yeah, 30 is probably going to look better.
Yeah.
And also, there's the lens differences. I'm clearly using like way better lenses than that little point shoot thing had on it. But I don't think the photos were necessarily that bad. I think they were bad because I didn't know what I was doing.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I think I could have pulled off some really good stuff. The other thing I'm going to argue is I feel like comparing film to digital is a bit of an unfair comparison. And it goes back to that like sizing and blowing things up. But a 2 megapixel photo, like you can only make that so big before just it looks like trash, right? Whereas with a film, well, you can hypothetically scan that at whatever resolution you want and make it sort of as big as you want, just because it's still optical instead of digital. So instead of reading pixels, you have to make up pixels with it, and you can make up as many pixels as you want.
No, that's fair.
Nick, we got to get things wrapped up here. We have a new segment on the show.
Oh, this is the best one. Can I go grab my thing though first? Because I left it. It's literally up on the shelf. So let me go grab it.
I guess.
Or do you want to go first? I'll go grab it after.
I'll intro. You go grab your stuff, and I will intro this segment. This is a little segment we are calling the Shelf of Shame, where every week Nick and I are going to grab a piece of equipment that we have hanging out on our shelf that we either A, don't use, or B, it was just a dumb purchase. I did not think this was going to take Nick this long to get back. And he's just laughing about it. That's the worst part. I hear him in the background just laughing.
Great. Okay, I got it. This is a winner. Oh boy.
It sounds like it's heavy.
Oh, I dropped the flag. I had a flag down. Just a second. Right here. This isn't it, but yeah, this is what I just dropped. This is supposed to be on that. Whew.
You know, we talked about trying to find a quicker segment than our photo challenge segment to speed things up, still be mildly entertaining.
Okay.
And this is the kind of stuff we get.
Oh, I'm out of focus. I'm too far away because it's too big. Okay. All right. So this is my extreme self-shame. This is actually what really brought the segment out. Was this is what everybody needs. Everybody. And if you want to buy it, it's in mint condition. So this right here it's a hood mount.
Why would you buy anything that heavy duty?
And so these are magnets, so it's not going to scratch your car up. And careful though, like these are serious magnets. And yeah, it's a big so basically I had an idea. Have you ever seen those driving around whatever city videos on YouTube?
Yeah.
I don't want to take credit for the whole genre, but I had that idea a while ago.
It was all you?
It was mainly all me.
So how many times did you actually use that thing?
0. So,
and just out of sheer curiosity, if you want to share, how much did you spend on it?
I'd have to look it up, but it wasn't cheap. I think it was under 1,000. I know that, but
I was gonna say it looks like 500-600 plus.
It was probably around $500. Because I'd had the thought. I was like, okay, I drive around all these places to film videos, and I was like, okay, there's something fascinating about just the Saskatchewan highways, especially in the winter. And I was like, you know what? If I filmed just this route to here, on my really good camera, it would look amazing. But then I just never. So this is actually what freaked me out. I went to set it up the one day, and it was winter out, and my car had frost on it about this much, and I just chickened out because I didn't want to put my camera on that thing and drive, and the thing just go shoo, because of the frost. I don't know if the magnet overpowers the frost. This is. I needed a science guy to go. Does the frost? Does magnet still over? It's like rock, paper, scissors. Is frost beat magnet, or does magnet beat frost? Like, which happens first?
I'm trying to think what the third thing would be in the scenario of magnet frost.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
But yeah, I didn't know which beat which in the hypothetical rock, paper, scissors game.
So was this before GoPros?
Well, so I don't know if you know. So I can be a bit of a snob about quality. Have you noticed that?
A little bit.
And so me even doing this show without us recording and going straight to Zoom is just it's just me just don't feel like you have to win every argument. Just be humble about it. And if we are doing it this way and it's easier for Emery to edit it, just be happy with it. So I wasn't happy with the GoPro's quality, so I wanted to put my C200 on there. I actually remember that gimbal that I had.
Yeah,
I bought it to go on top of that, so I was going to put my gimbal on top of that, and then my C200, and drive around in the winter and film all this stuff. And then
that'd have been crazy to see.
Yeah.
Like if you drove by someone on the street, it was a Ronin M1. Is that what they were
Yeah.
called? Yeah. So to see this rig that's literally like probably 3 feet in diameter round on top of this giant metal thing with a giant camera on it. If I seen that driving down the street, I'd just be shaking my head.
Well, I did some research on it, and because
I don't
when I
even know if
got
that'd
it,
be legal.
well, it wasn't. So I did some research on it, and it wasn't legal. But I could have put it on my hood, like not on my hood, but on my roof of my car, and did it that way. But yeah, I just need to sell it because honestly, if I get $200 for it, sold.
I don't even know who's gonna buy it. Like you need a film company to buy that thing.
Yeah, it's a very niche market. This is like you selling your insert of your Peter McKinnon backpack, right?
Yeah, it's
like I need the guy.
I think this is worse.
This is worse.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it is because people own the Peter McKinnon backpack.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to say exactly like you say. Why don't I just throw a GoPro on the hood? Why do I need that? But if you're a movie company and you're filming a dramatic scene in your car, you might think about this. Just make sure you know if frost beats magnets or magnet beats frost. It's a winner.
So if anybody out there knows a film company, send them Nick's way.
Yeah.
Nick, just moving along here, I'm going to show you my shelf of shame. It is not nearly as dramatic as
it's not
yours.
as shameful.
I'll try to make it dramatic here. You ready?
I don't think it'll be as shameful.
That was as dramatic as I could get it opening.
Oh, that was good.
So what this thing is,
put sound effects on for it.
Hard to see in the light. Little flat pouch thing. This used to be, when you open it up, had a 3-way open.
Whoa!
Card holder. So back in the day when I started, what would have been the camera? I had a camera before I had my 5D Mark II. But at that point in time, the fastest cards were compact flash cards. And they were a slightly bigger card than most people see today in the SD cards. But yeah,
compact. No, you see people are using CFast cards and they're the same size as compact flash.
Well, that's what the CF stands for. Anyways,
yeah, it's true.
Those cards were a little bit bigger, and this is what I had at that time to store the cards. Now, shelf of shame. Basically, all the cameras have gone to SDs now, and I think that's going to continue that way. Like, I think they're going to try to make SDs as fast as CF Express. It'll just take a little bit of time. So I don't think I'll ever be using this thing again because I probably just don't need to hold compact flash cards.
Okay, but how much did you pay for that?
That's true. I think this thing was like a $10 item at Don's Photo or something. I think it was like in the for sale bin.
Yeah.
I used it for years. I loved it. This sounds really stupid, but organizing cards. It also had these little red flaps in it, so I would know. So if this card was used, you put the card back in and just flip the flap out.
Yeah.
And then you know that card was full. But yeah, it helped organize life. I liked using it a lot, but again, just with the change of cards, this is what I have now. It is a rugged case, kind of maybe just a little size comparison.
Nice.
It's waterproof. All the cards inside of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, like this is holding more than I actually need. So everything from my GoPro cards to my, what else do my camera cards to, I have one other thing I put this, the audio recorder. All fits in this one little case and it fits in my camera bag. Real nice because it's a lot smaller. So yeah, that is my shelf of shame, which I am also trying to sell, but I actually think I might be able to sell this.
You'll be able to sell that.
Someone should buy this. Like, give me $5 and it's yours, and it'll be worth every penny.
What mine will eventually sell for. $5.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was fun. That was a very unexpected shelf of shame, Nick.
I don't think I told you about that one.
Yeah, no. So I don't even know how to finish all this all up, but I'll go back to one thing, Nick, and we'll wrap this up for the day. Go on to blackicemedia.ca, pick up a calendar if they're still there. Some Chasing Yesterday calendars will be there eventually too. Actually, probably by the time I get this out, they should be there because we're designing it right now, a little bit late, but get those things out for Christmas. They're both going to be some fun calendars. The Chasing Yesterday calendar is all new as well. So yeah, Nick, I think that's it.
Awesome.
We will head off for the night. Yes, you too, buddy. Always a good time. If this episode is a complete mess in editing, I apologize for everybody. We talked for hours about random things, and yeah,
we'll just put it all together. Call it good.
Yeah, it'll be a thing. And I hope everybody enjoyed.
Don't spend too much time editing it because
I never do.
Okay. I'm just worried that you're like slaving over each. You've got your change the volume up and down.
Oh God, no. Most I do is like cut out audio, like when you or I say something dumb in the middle of it. It's just like, I'm not putting that one in.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Anyways, that happens.
We'll leave it at that. Everybody have a good rest of your day.
Yes. Charge your batteries and tripods level. All of the stuff.
I think I apologize too much for the mess that it's going to be, but oh well.
Yeah, whatever. Does my camera keep tilting down? Holy cow. Too many buttons undone.
You trying to change our demographic of our show? Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, he's invited me. I never looked at the thing yet.
What? That sounds right.
I'll check it out eventually. NFTing, getting an NFT on a meme seems cool. The cool factor is like the person that says, I actually own that gift, the NFT for that gift you just sent me. Like that's where the serious cool factor comes in, I would say.
I feel like you're overrating the word cool.
So just gotta figure out how to get to my Facebook feed. I don't know how to do that.
That's gonna go into the outro.
No, but how do you get to your own feed?
Like I actually think, yeah, if you NFT'd Leroy and Leroy stuff, you might actually make money. I won't, but I can help you with the process.
Oh, hold on. Hey, we got our guest coming in here. And we'll, as soon as I can figure out how to push the button.
Minus the 1 year the Raptors won everything. That's the only time in my life I've watched it.
That's the only time most people in Saskatchewan have watched it. Well, Nick, that was pretty fun. Having a guest like that on our show. What'd you think about all that?
Leroy behind the camera guy sounds pretty good. Kind of like it.
I don't know. He sounds like he's got some issues there. I don't
yeah, no kidding. But it's just a matter of getting the guests. You'd think that when they went to our webpage or our YouTube and they saw 23 followers, they'd really want to join. But it actually doesn't work that way. They actually, a lot of people think, why should I be on that show?
Yeah, weird. I don't know why.
It's weird.
For two nobodies growing up in the grain belt of Canada, like, come on, we're...
Yeah. For that. Like, given how good it should be total crap, and it's just medium crappy.
Actually, the fact we even have like 23 followers is a little bit mind-boggling.
Well, half of them are me, just through all my accounts. Z9. Is that Sony?
No, it's Nikon.
Obviously, I know everything about it. Yeah.
It's like finally Nikon's taking this seriously.
I thought they were taking bankruptcy seriously. Good stuff. That was funny.